Adjusting the intensity of color in a photograph can have a big impact. In this video, we'll explore how to do that with a Vibrance adjustment. You can follow along with this image from the practice files for this tutorial. First, whenever you're applying a direct adjustment to an image, you want to make sure that you have the layer selected that contains the image. Here, we just have a single layer in this photograph, so it's not a problem. But if you have a multi-layer image, then you should check the Layers panel first. Now, let's say that we want to make the color of this weaver's sweater richer or more intense. But we don't want her skin to look too saturated. That's a perfect job for a Vibrance adjustment. To apply a Vibrance adjustment, I'll go up to the Image menu, choose Adjustments, and here there are two kinds of adjustments that would affect color intensity. There's Vibrance and there's Hue Saturation. When skin color is involved, or when you need a subtle enhancement to color intensity, then Vibrance is the best choice. We'll cover Hue Saturation and talk about when it's most useful in another video in this tutorial. I'll select Vibrance here, and that opens the Vibrance dialog box. In this dialog box, you have two choices, Saturation or Vibrance. You can use them singly or you can use them together. Let's see what they do. If I drag the Saturation slider over to the right, you'll see right away that the intensity of all the colors is ramped up. Not only does the weaver's sweater become a richer, more intense purple, but the intensity of the flesh tones and of the loom increases too. And it really is too strong an effect in this photo. So I'm going to put saturation back to 0. I'll just type 0 in its value field. Instead, let's try dragging the Vibrance slider to the right. Vibrance does a more subtle job of intensifying color, and it protects the flesh tones from oversaturation. Let's compare a before and after view by clicking the checkbox to the left of Preview. That's how the image looked without the Vibrance adjustment, and here's how it looks with the Vibrance adjustment. We've managed to make the sweater a stronger purple without overdoing the subject's face and the color of the wood. If you're happy with the result, click OK and go to the File menu, choose Save As, and I suggest that you change the file name so you don't save over the original photo with this adjusted version. So that's how to subtly increase color intensity by applying a Vibrance adjustment. We applied this adjustment directly to the photo, but it could be applied as a flexible adjustment layer. That's a topic we'll cover in another video in this tutorial. The Hue Saturation adjustment lets you adjust not only color saturation, but other properties of color too. And it gives you the option to adjust either particular colors or all the colors in an image. So you get more control over color with this adjustment than with the Vibrance adjustment that we looked at earlier in this tutorial. If you're following along, open both these images from the practice files for this tutorial. Let's start with this image of threads on a loom. If it's not showing, click its tab at the top of the document window here. Now go up to the Image menu and choose Adjustments, Hue Saturation. That opens the Hue Saturation dialog box. If it's covering your image, you can click its title bar and drag it out of the way. The dialog box has three main sliders. The Hue slider controls the overall color. So if I drag Hue to the right, I get a different colorway than if I drag it over here to the left. I'll put it back to 0. The Saturation slider controls the intensity of the color. Dragging to the right makes all the colors in the image more intense. Dragging to the left mutes all the colors in the image. I'll put that one back to 0 too, to show you the last slider, Lightness. Dragging this to the left makes all the colors darker. Dragging to the right makes all the colors lighter. I'll put that back to 0 too. When you use the sliders as we just did, they affect all the colors in an image. But the Hue Saturation adjustment offers something more, the ability to adjust individual colors throughout an image. Let's switch to the other open image to see that. I'm going to click Cancel to close the Hue Saturation dialog box, and go back to the document window and click on the tab of the other open document. Let's open that dialog box again by going to Image, Adjustments, Hue Saturation. We've already seen that if I were to move the saturation slider, that would affect the saturation of all the colors in the open image. But let's say that I just want to affect the saturation of the yellows in this image. To do that, I'll go to the menu labeled Master, and I'll choose one of the color ranges from that menu. I'm going to choose yellows. If I drag the saturation slider all the way to the right, you'll see that it's affecting all the yellows throughout the image. Or if I were to go all the way to the left, you can see that I'm lowering the color intensity of all the yellows. Not only the yellow flowers, but also some of the foliage too, because some of that has yellow in it as well. I'd like to lower the color intensity of the yellows just a little. So I'm going to take that saturation slider and I'll put it just about here. You can experiment with changing the hue and the lightness of individual colors too. Now what if I wanted to change the saturation of the orange flowers in the image? If I go up to the menu, I don't see orange there. So rather than just guess at what color range might cover the orange looking flowers, there's a tool that I can use right here to automatically target whatever the orange is in the flowers and change that color throughout the image. I'll activate this tool by clicking on it, and when there's a dark box around the icon, it's turned on. I'll move into the image and click on the orange in one of these flowers. Keep my mouse held down, and as I drag to the left, I'm lowering the color intensity of the oranges wherever they appear in the image. If I drag to the right, I'm increasing the intensity. And when I do that, you can see that there's some of that orange color, not only in the flowers, but also in the wall, in the vase, and in the table. I'm going to drag just to the left of 0, maybe to about right there. If you look at the hue saturation dialog box, you'll see that dragging in the image with that tool activated has moved the saturation slider, and it's chosen reds as the color range. I'm going to click on that tool to deactivate it, and then I'll click OK to accept all these changes. And finally, I'll go to the File menu, and I'll choose Save As, and I suggest that you change the name of this image so that you don't save over your original with this version. So the hue saturation adjustment gives you lots of options for controlling color in your photos, and it can be applied as a direct adjustment as we just did, or as an adjustment layer, a topic we'll cover next.
Or you're going to click on your classroom, classwork, and then find Basic Edit Project 4. And then this is where you're going to put your edited photos. And so you're adjusting vibrance, hue, and saturation in your photos. What you're going to do is find 10 photos that you have previously taken that include people. And you're going to edit those 10 photos so that you are changing the vibrance in their clothes. Next, you're going to find another 10 photos of the flower project that you took in the previous project. For those photos, you will edit the hue and saturation. So this will give you a total of 20 edited photos, 10 that use the vibrance, and then 10 that use the hue and saturation. So you should have a total of 20 different edited pictures, and then you'll put them in here. So when you're in Photoshop and you're done making your adjustments and you want to save it, you'll go to File, Save As, and then make sure you're clicked into Desktop, name your image, and then make sure it's a JPEG, and then make sure you're clicked in Desktop and create a new folder. Basic Editing Project 4, and then create, and then it'll have you save your picture in that folder, and then you'll save it there, click OK, and then go back to where you made that folder, which is right here. And then once you've edited 20 pictures, you'll click and drag your pictures into this document, and then you'll turn it in.